Weekly Wheaties, 2321, Encryption, ChatGPT, social media. Just watch. Why encryption is important. According to Cloudflare, encryption is a way to conceal information by altering it so that it appears to be random data. In other words, it's a way to send and/or receive data that only those intended to read it can do so. This is done by either a cipher, code, or permission. This generally is done on the back end simply through the software used to send the data, and the recipient automatically has the key to read it. Put more basically, have you ever sent or received a postcard in the mail? How many people would have had access to read any message on the postcard? Now imagine that postcard was simply placed in an envelope. A little bit more secure, yes? Except how do you know if it was opened and resealed, or placed in a new envelope and reprinted? Put simply, you don't, and you can't. We can assume it hasn't been tampered with as we trust our mail system. However, we don't personally know everyone involved in the chain. If we were to send very sensitive and important information, our level of trust rises exponentially, which is where there are other practices put in place. For example, delivery and signature confirmation, certified mail, insurance, and more. In reality and practice, a typical email or text message is sent over the air in the same way a postcard is sent through the mail. Anyone who has access to a network you may be using can intercept any message at any time. This goes for anyone sharing your ISP too, at least technically, whether that is Cox, Verizon, or AT&T. Yes, your cell phone providers too. The best way to remedy this situation is to use applications and programs that encrypt their transmission data. This also includes websites that you use a username and password on, especially those you provide payment information on. The easiest way to tell is to look for the S in HTTPS in the address bar, sometimes accompanied by a lock symbol. If you're ever on a website lacking the S in the URL, do not provide any personal information. Regarding apps on your mobile devices, it becomes a bit trickier, and you almost have to do your own research. Simply searching on any web browser, something like, does Facebook's Messenger encrypt their data, will typically yield accurate results. Only recently has Twitter encrypted their direct messages, as even Elon says don't trust it yet, noting there are certain attacks it currently doesn't protect from. Ultimately, using encryption is better than not. Depending on the app or website used, nothing typically changes for the user. It's important to note that if something is encrypted, the company providing the encryption can't even access the data. They don't have the keys. It also can't be hacked, generally speaking. An employee is unable to steal or share the data. Lastly, the government can't even force a company to give up the information that's encrypted. So much so, Wikipedia even has an article on the FBI-Apple encryption dispute, which concerns were raised over the public availability of such a strong encryption on iPhones that Apple is unable to unlock. In case you missed it, lawyer in trouble for incorrect use of ChatGPT. In a lawsuit regarding Avianca Airlines, a defense lawyer submitted a brief of previous court rulings to help their case, except they didn't exist. While it's common practice for lawyers to reference past lawsuits, they can all be verified. In this case, the lawyer in question asked ChatGPT to help. While it was able to provide 6 cases to help, it also stated they were able to be found on LexisNexis and other law search programs. Which begs more questions. What are the legal, ethical, and moral issues to arise? Will the lawyer be disbarred? Will the plaintiff have another chance in court? Will AI be banned for all legal purposes? Or should it just be stated they were used? Either way, I argue it should be used for what it is, a tool to assist you in some type of job or task. It requires subject matter experts to verify the output, which was not done here. This is further proof of how irresponsibility for any user, especially in a place where legal and monetary issues are at stake, causes greater problems for all. Read more at the New York Times. In case you missed it, Surgeon General warns of social media use. Dr. Vivek Murthy, the current Surgeon General of the United States, testified before the Senate warning of possible harm to the mental health and well-being of children and adolescents of social media. To help remedy possible unseen risks, a few recommendations were provided in their full report, including device-free meal times, have conversations, set expectations and boundaries, report bullying, among others. With the many positives social media brings, there's still a push for some type of safety standard since it shows no sign of slowing down. As I've just shared with adults using AI incorrectly, and by evidence of the many who fall for scams all over the world every day, there's plausible truth in his statement. One may argue mental health and mental intelligence aren't necessarily the same thing, but the brain isn't even fully developed in many until the late 20s. Knowing what we read online versus how we perceive something can all dictate truth to oneself. Coupling that with kids sharing things in the moment with no regard to others can take an emotional toll. Read the full story at the New York Times. Pick of the week, JustWatch.com. Did last week's pick of Netflix.com have you wondering about a long-lost show you don't know how to find it or where to watch? With cord cutting on the rise and streaming apps popping up all the time, it can be a hassle to know where and how to watch a certain movie or TV show. Enter JustWatch.com. Simply type in something you'd like to stream and be greeted with all the ways to watch it. You can also add shows to a watch list, track your episodes, and receive notifications when shows and movies are available to stream for free after rental or purchase is timed out. However, my favorite feature is to check the streaming apps you have access to and only browse items currently available to you. There's a section titled Just Added to Your Services that can help find your new favorite. Check it out at JustWatch.com. Weekly Wheaties is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber. Links for the above-mentioned items are available at weeklywheaties.com.